Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today we are talking Fallout. The series dropped this week, Thursday, I believe. And since then, I've binged the entire 8 episodes of the first season, and I've got to be honest, I really enjoyed it, like, a lot. Like, I watched 4 and a bit episodes in one night and then finished the rest the next day, or maybe the day after, but, like, pretty quick. Like, I I very rarely binge shows these days, and I couldn't put it down this one. Um, Apart from going to work. No, I really did enjoy it. There's a lot to say about this show, so let's get into it. I think first off, one of the reasons I actually really enjoyed this show, and sort of a brief disclaimer, I've not played all of the Fallout games. Well, okay, so yeah, that's a true statement. I haven't played Fallout 1 or 2. I haven't played any of these spin offs from around that period, but I have played Fallout 3 completely, a lot of New Vegas, a decent chunk of 76, and I started 4 but never finished 4. So essentially, I know of the Fallout world. I know a decent amount, but not to where I know every single intricacy of the lore, and I don't know the full stories of each Wastelander, so to speak. But I did go into this very excited because this is a canon story. It's canon to the universe of the games. And I think that's very interesting because it's not like other adaptations of games where the whole story is a redo of like the game, right? So like you have something like The Last of Us. I'm not saying Last of Us is bad. I haven't watched it, but I know that The Last of Us is playing the game out as a story in a show, if that makes sense. Same with like Uncharted, the movie. It's playing out the game as like it's a universe unto itself, whereas the Fallout TV show is part of that universe, part of that game universe. It ties in. It's like Star Wars in reverse, right? It's like Star Wars makes games that tie into their movie. In this instance, they've made a TV show that links into their gaming universe, and I love that. I think that's one of the things that really drew me to this show anyway, because it feels worthwhile watching. Whereas, like for me, I can't say I haven't played The Last of Us yet. But if I were to play The Last of Us, I don't know whether I necessarily feel the urge to then watch the television show, knowing that it's essentially going to be, to one degree or another, the same sort of thing, right? I don't really know if I want to have the same story twice. But either way, that's irrelevant to the point. Fallout is a really interesting addition to its universe, and yeah, there's a lot to say. I have some gripes. Don't get me wrong. There are certain things that I'm concerned about, and certain things that I know other people are concerned about. Not concerned about. Maybe that's the wrong word, but frustrated with sounds a bit strong as well. But we'll get there. Long story short, what I think we'll say straight away is design looks amazing. The Wasteland looks believable. The CGI, you could tell it was CGI at parts, especially like with the Yaogwai, but very tolerable. It wasn't bad, I don't think. It was what it was. Practical effects, such as the ghoul, like looked amazing. Like really believed that Walton Goggins was the ghoul, and like it looked so believable. And the set pieces as well were phenomenal. The vaults looked like we ran through these vaults, and it felt like you could run through Vault 33, Vault 31, etc. It felt like they it gave me that real experience. As actually, again, I've played all of the starts of these games, but it felt really like with Fallout, it's 76, that first moment where you get that kind of like, it's Reclamation Day and everyone's going up and reclaiming Appalachia. So it was really fun to kind of see that. And I actually did like that this series followed the vault a bit more, because it's something that we usually very much in the story of like our games leave behind, right? Like the vault is a place that you start and then you go to maybe some other vaults in the game, but like the politics of the vault that you've left behind doesn't really necessarily matter once you've gone. And I think that was really something that I enjoyed in this show, that it kind of delved more into that, like, are the vault dwellers really different to the surface dwellers? Have they got their own things going on? Like, all that type of stuff. And I think the plot of the show was actually really intricate, bursting at points, but intricate, because you have essentially five main characters, right? You have Maximus, you have the Ghoul, you have Lucy, you have Thaddeus. That's four. I'm missing one. You have Norm and Chet back at and then you have also the storyline in the past as well. So you have a lot of storylines going on, and it felt really like you were following, like, obviously it's Lucy's story. It feels very much like it's Lucy's story, but it felt like it was everyone else's story too. Like the way the show starts and the way it ends is so impactful, and like I think some of those scenes really actually get you. Like there's some really dark, not in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I can't watch this, but like some really well delivered pieces of like commentary on capitalism, commentary on a system that is failing, a commentary on life and death and family. And it's weird because you wouldn't think like it would go that deep, and I don't think it is necessarily that deep. I know I'm probably taking it to the extreme, but I felt like it had all the quintessential parts of a Fallout story. It really did kind of do the whole and yes, it hits some cheesy points like the war never changes line and stuff like that. And there's definitely room for hilarity and silliness, and a sense of kind of anachronism. Not, is that the right word? Anachronist. Like anachronistic. Yeah, I think that's right. Like, it does feel like a different universe. It does feel like a universe struck in the past. It does feel like a universe where things frequently go wrong, and sometimes by misunderstanding, and all of that type of stuff. And I don't want to go too much into the plot because I think it's a very plot heavy show. Actually, it's got action, it's got brutality in points, it's got some things that you don't expect. Like you really don't expect them to go that far, and then they do. On especially on like a I wouldn't say sexuality in the case of like, it's not overly what's the word I'm looking for, debaucherous, I guess. But it, like, some of the lines and some of the delivery of dialogue, and just some of the moments you think, whoa, what the hell is going on here? Like you feel like you get almost shocked as Lucy at points. Like she's coming into this world and you're kind of going along with her, and you're like, oh, this is happening now. And very very fun in that way. And I've got to be honest, I actually it's funny because we're watching a Fallout show, and I was actually really enraptured with the storyline happening in the past. I thought it was really interesting to see a lot more of the workings of Vault-Tec, a lot more of the world pre the bombs dropping, and seeing how that all came to pass. Especially that final episode. I will say the final episode felt rushed to me. I felt like everything up to that point was really well done. I feel like the final episode was rushed, especially in regards to Moldaver. I feel like the reason Moldaver is even there, is even doing what she's doing, is clear, but how she's doing it, how she is there, is like left just incredibly ambiguous. And it feels like, yes, that probably will be picked up if they have a season 2, because I imagine the flashback storyline will continue. But it feels like I don't know. It felt like this was half a season in a sense. And that's okay, because I do fully believe the way the show ended, and the way the storylines were left open, and on top of that, the way they portrayed certain things. Let's put it that way. I do think there's more to come, and also the fact that it's like, I think it's number 1 on Amazon right now, and also just generally doing well and being talked about, and also it's upping gameplay as well. Like I think every single game under the Fallout banner has seen a decided uptick in people playing them, which is always a good sign. Like people have watched the show and really got a feel for that. Nothing says like a show's doing well more than the real fantasy that it's trying to sell being so well imparted that the person goes, right, okay, I'm going to go and play the game about this, you know. And I actually want to go and replay all the games because of this. So and like properly get through the ones that I didn't. So I think generally a success. I think there's so much you can do with the Fallout world, and I think they did a really good job of starting to get that in live action, like to kind of give a real sense of the scope, and you can see where they're going. You can see where they can still go next, and there's a lot of stuff that they haven't even touched. You know, the factions in the show are still relatively small. You know, you have the NCR, you have the Brotherhood, and you have the Vault Dwellers, essentially. But you haven't really touched on, you know, the Enclave much. Like, the Enclave was in one episode and not much of that. There's other places to see, which is kind of implied at the end of the show. There's still so much to understand about what Vault Tech was trying to do in Vault 31, 32, and 33, besides just kind of like what's revealed in the show, because there's implied to be more, essentially, than just the revelation at the end of the show, so to speak. But yeah, I think the acting was actually really good as well, which I didn't necessarily expect. I think I expected this show to be a lot more cheesy. I expected this show to be what Borderlands looks to be, and I haven't played Borderlands either, so that's like a bad one for me to kind of, because I don't know how like, I know the Borderlands style, I know the Borderlands kind of humor, but I haven't played them to know exactly. But either way, I think that Borderlands looks like, how do I put, I don't want to say creatively bankrupt, but it looks like it's not going to live up to what the games would be. Whereas, and I thought maybe Fallout might fall the same way, but it didn't actually. It went the other way. It's actually pretty spot on. It you feel like you're playing, you know, a game, like a long cutscene in a sense. But yeah, so do I have anything more to say? Yes, I do, and that is music choice. Now, we all knew that music was going to be a big part of this show because music is a big part of the Fallout series in general. They hit it all the way through. Every single song was just perfectly placed, was really well done. Just felt like it was part of the universe. Even the fact that at one point you go to like a radio station in the show, that's not really a spoiler. Sorry that if you think it is. And like, you know, it just hit all those points. Even like the fact that like Lucy's whole reason for going out of the vault is so quintessentially Fallout, right? It's so quintessentially part of what the story is about, going and going out and braving this world because of, you know, essentially family. And I found that so interesting. I found that they really managed to put it in a new perspective at the same time, though. They managed to do something quite different, whilst kind of retaining that very Fallout element. But yeah, I think some of the reveals in the last episode didn't pay off so well. I think some did a lot better. And that's another thing. There's a little bit of CGI de-aging in the final episode that I think looked a little bad. You guys will know it if you know. If you know, you know. Should I say? But I think it looked pretty like weird. It's really weird because they de-aged one of the actors, but the other actor they just got someone who like a younger actor to play that part, and I think maybe that was partly to negate some people kind of guessing the plot, so to speak. But at that point, it kind of already been out the bag, and also I don't think it would have really hindered to kind of try and find an actor that looked similar to that, or otherwise just an actor that was younger, because I feel like in that instance it just looked really off-putting. It gave Charles Xavier in X-Men that Wolverine movie, I forget the one that it is, but the one where Charles Xavier shows up at the end and he's like de-aged and it looks horrendous. But anyways, guys, I think that's kind of my thoughts on the Fallout series. I think, oh, no, it's not, because I have one more thing to say. So some people are saying there's inconsistencies lore-wise. I don't know those inconsistencies necessarily, because I think some of them are linked to Fallout 4, which I haven't played, and Vegas, which I haven't finished. But long story short, I think some inconsistencies were bound to happen, because you're always going to miss something. I mean, I remember WoW developers at one point said that a character was dead that wasn't dead. And games sometimes contradict themselves just by nature of being so immersive and huge. I think they could have avoided that altogether very easily, but it's clearly the story they wanted to go for, and Todd Howard was executive producer on this, so I'm kind of not really worried about that too much, because I'm sure that there's some kind of explanation that'll eventually come to light, or there's some way of compartmentalizing the slight changes. Now, if we were talking about Star Wars, I'd probably be ripping your head off right now for even implying that it's okay, because canon should be canon. But I think it's a little bit different when you're going from a game to a live action, rather than live action to live action, or a book given the go ahead by the people who are making the live action, if that makes sense. Because I feel like a game is always going to have to be translated somehow for live action, because you have such a different scope in terms of how things are being done, and like you just need like quick, like essentially it's about a place that shows up in the show that doesn't quite correlate with how the game goes, but the game has choices. The show doesn't have choices unless you're doing one of those weird like interactive show things, and also just the fact that like you can't expect a show to kind of really dig into history and lore on the same level as a game where you can pick up a book and read 10 pages on one, state or one group of people. Like you like the Enclave, I think, got mentioned as an organization twice in the entire show, and didn't really get explained beyond that. So there's a lot of things that I think season 2 can pick up on and change and alter and deal with a little bit more, now that we've got kind of in there, now that we know the universe a bit better from a watcher's perspective. But I understand the argument, I get it, but I think in this instance it's a little bit different, and understandably so. Either way, guys, now that I've said that, we will leave it there. Thank you as always for watching slash listening, and I will see you guys again / speak to you guys again very soon. Thank you guys. I'll see you later.